Hello everybody. This video is meant to walk you through the process that I describe in the manuscript for better understanding or duplicating the process that I used in creating an objective structured clinical examination or OSCE within our APRN program using Google Tools. My name is Imelda Reyes and I'm a clinical assistant professor here at Nell Hodgson Woodruff School of Nursing at Emory University, and I coordinate the Pediatric Nurse Practitioner program. So the objective structured clinical exam, or OSCE, is usually a circuit of short stations that are observed by examiners that use real or simulated patients and test clinical skills or performance. What we did here was a little bit different than the typical process in that we kept the principle of stations but instead designed clinical scenarios that could be answered in narrative form. The year prior, the students wrote their answers out at each station on a piece of paper, and it created 300 pieces of paper that were nearly impossible to organize. This year, we used Google Forms for students to submit their answers. It allowed for easier grading and reporting back for students. It was a huge improvement. First, I will walk you through the finished product and then go back and walk you through the step-by-step instructions that I created. It is helpful to view the actual process in conjunction with the directions. So the OSCE that we created here used a variety of Google tools. In my Google Drive, you will see that I can use Google Docs, which is an online word processing tool, Google Sheets, which is an online spreadsheet tool, Google Slides, which is an online presentation tool, and Google Forms, which is an online survey system. Now let me walk you through what we did. This is an example of a station. We asked for the interpretation of spirometry before and after the administration of albuterol. The questions were highly structured against the objectives for the class. Next, the students accessed the Google Forms to submit their answers. We blinded their identity by assigning letters to each student to remove any potential bias when grading answers. After their submission, it directed them back to submit another response. They inputted their student ID, their station, and their narrative answer. These results automatically feed into Google Sheets. After each station, it shows a new line. So each line is a student ID, station ID, and narrative answer. On the back end, we can add columns and manually input our feedback and also points for each submission. By conducting the OSCE, we are testing another dimension of Miller's pyramid of competence that differs from multiple choice answer exams. This is more along the lines of shows how versus knows how, or knows, excuse me. Each student receives an electronic report with their answer, the feedback, and the points for each station. We used 12 stations at 5 minutes per station for a test that took about 70 minutes to complete. The exemplar answers get recorded and are shared with the students. They can compare their answers and see their feedback and learn from the exercise. Here are the references for my presentation that will also be included in the manuscript. Now I will walk you through the steps to create the platform for faculty. So within Google Drive, you're going to go to New and select Google Forms, which creates the form. Here you will see a required button. You want to make sure that all questions are required as you go through this. For the first question, you're going to create the identifier. Then we use de-identified information. So for each student, we have them select A through Z, and that keeps it consistent, and they have to keep that consistent for each question. To create this, we select the drop-down menu option. This keeps the identity blinded for each reviewer. So you go through and you create that for each student. The second thing that you do is create a question for the station. Each station also has a unique identifier. And same thing, you select the drop-down menu. So they're at station 1, station 2, and we again want to make this a required question. Lastly, you're going to create the response in narrative form. So this time we want to select paragraph answer, and you want to make that required. Now you are done creating questions. This design allows for the submission after each station that also timestamps their response. And this becomes a unique submission with a distinct entry on the Google Sheet. To see the completed form, click on the eye to preview your form. So you can see now that the student would have to select their student ID, select what station they're at, and then write their answer. And click Submit. And as you can see, it takes them to submit another response. Here also we can change the title of the form. And we'll say that this is the sample OSCE. Now, so we just saw that we were on the question screen. In order to see the responses, you're going to click on Responses and then go to the green icon, and it'll ask if you want to create a new spreadsheet. And here we're going to go ahead and call it the sample OSCE and click Create. Your Google Sheet is now created, and as you see, that sample response that I input with the timestamp here, student ID was A, we selected student A, we selected station 1, and we wrote and we captured their response, which was write their narrative answer. So again, it automatically collects the submission for each student as they submit their answers for each station. I am now in a spreadsheet that is from an actual OSCE where we collected student ID station response for 12 stations, as I mentioned before, and here we have added the columns for feedback and also for points. Feedback can be as detailed as you would like. I often have students refer back to the exemplar if they need further remediation. You may find it helpful to sort at this point to allow for the view of just one station to grade all of those stations at once or to look at one particular station. So you just click on the entire spreadsheet, go to Data and Filter, and then I can filter by just station 1 and I can see all of station 1 responses. Or I can clear that, select all, and maybe select I want to see just student B's answers for every station. Lastly, you can also create pivot tables. Again, if you click on the upper left-hand corner and go to Data and Pivot Tables, this will allow for easy manipulation of your data. Pivot tables allow for easy formatting since it's a semi-dynamic tabular summary of the data and allows for easier grading of the exercise. So here, in terms of formatting the pivot table, under Rows, you're going to add all of the fields. You want to make sure that you unclick Show Totals. Next, you want to come down to Values and add in points. And for here, you do want to sum it up. So summarize by sum. And then in the filter, we can add in student ID. So this now allows me, if you see here, it's in a tabular format with everything. You can see the points here and the points here. If I scroll all the way to the bottom, I want this particular column to be summarized. And then if I want, I can click on this, come down, filter by student A, and I can see that student A has 85 points. Here's their answer or their feedback and the points for each particular station, and you can see which particular station they were at, and again the timestamp with the student ID. I hope that you found the walkthrough helpful, and again, for step-by-step instructions, please see the manuscript.